11:39 a.m. of Friday, August 27th, 2021. Yesterday's update is uploading. I work tonight. If it's not done uploading by then, which it probably won't be, then it will complete uploading while I'm at work, and then I will upload this. Today's topics are a little different area. No significant change in outside world events. We're going to go with some chunking, as I've discussed previously. We're going to take that, we're going to set it aside as a category. It's simply there. And we're going to kind of push that off a little bit, forget it for a moment. There's been no change, there's nothing to talk about. That's the thing that gets me. I will talk about that for a second. That's the thing that gets me. It's not the travesty of the events that's happening, or that have happened, or whatever, that are happening. It's the travesty of people being addicted to talking about it. It's become cultural. People want to argue, people want to debate, people want to have their biases confirmed. It's not healthy. So, I figured today I would get a little more esoteric, a little more out there. Due to the factors of platform censorship as well as real-world consequences of online statements, you'll notice I'm a little bit less political. Still hold my opinions or whatever, just not saying it. That which is understood need not be discussed. Therefore, if I've said it enough times that the people watching it understand it, I don't have to repeat it. Take political stances, make a chunk, and push it aside too. There are now two side chunks, but they're just shadowy boxes stored in a dark warehouse. So I think the best place to start, I've had several thoughts cross my mind and I'm going to revisit them now that I'm recording. They are still in my short-term memory. They are the things that I thought about that I'm going to think about again. And they're right here. The trick with inner work, such as memory exercises, building of thought form structures, such as a memory castle or whatever, build all kinds of things, as long as you know how it works. Just like a dream. The thing with it is, there are as many different ways to rephrase that. There are more than as many different ways to conceptualize such structures or inner work, as it were, to be as broad and general as possible, as there are people. And not just us people, anything capable of doing that. I'm sure there are other animals elsewhere on this world, or possibly on other worlds, who knows. But as many conscious minds as there are at least that many, if not more, methods of conceptualizing one's individual interaction with the whole, which is reality, the universe, the environment, existence, however you want to look at it. That's kind of the preface to the main starter, which is the interconnectedness of all things. I know I'm like 5 minutes into this video, and already we are at the crux, the core, the nexus. Is the interconnectedness of all things. It's literally the nexus, because it is the fact that all things are interconnected, therefore it is the interconnectedness. The interconnectedness is the intersection, in a sense, but it's also not. It is both at the same time. Due to the architecture of a human brain, all humans are inherently connected by the similarity. Due to various environmental factors, pathologies, etc., there are other commonalities and connections between groups of individuals. But on the whole, the architecture of the species is a commonality. We are more connected in more ways than we are aware of. Therefore, there is a collective unconscious. Won't even get into the subconscious as a topic for this one. So, the collective unconscious is not a formal, bounded thing. It is not a substance. It is simply the concept of all of which we are collectively unaware. And then there's the outlying areas of it that you could think of in, like I said, any number of ways, whatever works best for you. In my mind, it is like a field of spikes, and not spikes in the violent sense, spikes in the quantum perturbation sense. There are places where, in some cases, there are individuals who are aware of things and many individuals who are not aware of things, and in other cases it's the other way around. There's all possible permutations included. What we're dealing with here is infinities, and each of these infinities is infinite in a certain way. So the interconnectedness of all things, if you're using the concept of all, you're referring to an infinity collected. All things. So the commonality of the interconnectedness is an infinity. The collective unconscious, because of what seems to be the nature of the universe in size and distribution, even if we are the only sentient race within our observable universe particle horizon, which you're talking a 26 billion light year diameter sphere of universe, that if just outside that is the further outer edge of the other side of another species that is that distant that we will never contact it through macro physical means, if the universe is infinite, then there are by default an infinite number of those spaced out through an even larger yet also infinite space. So who knows? And maybe it's one per galaxy, maybe it's we just don't know, which puts that into the realm of the collective unconscious. Our brains are made to, or however it is that we've grown into the point of having dreams with archetypes. These archetypes are generated by these various collectedness, collectives. There we go. And in prime case, the shadow is made out of everything that we put away, but it's part of the collective unconscious, as are all of the archetypes. So there are influences from things that we are unaware of in these moments and interactions and characters that we visit or are visited by in our sleep sometimes, that we oftentimes don't remember the interaction, but our brains do, because the interaction took place. It represents a sorry, had a spam call. Represents a brain function, a chemical change, a something. If a person was having a dream with deep archetypal interaction and influence, I'm sure there would be some interesting brain readings that could be gotten, which we're just brushing the surface of what we can detect about what's going on in the brain, and I fear that we're going to be very limited because of the quantum nature of the brain as a computer, that if you get too in-depth into scanning a brain, you're going to disrupt the function of the brain in a way that affects your experiment. So the interconnectedness of all things, thought of that led me, we're going to take from this little bit, we're going to take a piece off of it, we're going to bring it in. Got me to thinking about things like clairaudience, clairvoyance, their definitions, their origins. They're not what people think. Clairvoyance is the one that I think most people have heard of. It is oftentimes thought of as being a psychic ability or paranormal. The truth is, there's no such thing as supernatural or paranormal, in the sense that anything that exists exists and is therefore natural and normal and real, even if it utterly violates our human concept or worldview of what we think is possible. Nothing unreal exists. Nothing itself does not exist. It is a state of non-existence. As things exist, therefore nothing does not exist. And nothing unreal exists in the same fashion. So clairvoyance, I think, would be more of almost a remote view type thing, where a person has or is afflicted by or gains the ability to have visions, whether or not they can control what visions are being shown or what they're seeing, you know, to fully understand it, is another thing entirely. But it often gets misused in the sense of like a medium or a channel, and that's not what it is. So then there's clairaudience, and this could also kind of be lumped in with the typical trope of a psychic or a medium. Clairaudience is a little different. Clairaudience is where you, rather than have visions, you have auditory, almost hallucinations. And I would say the best example of clairaudience from anyone I've ever talked to about it, and I've had experiences with it, is it almost seems like if you're standing and speaking with a person, and that person, in the course of the conversation, as if a dissociative alter stepped forward and said something to you to convey what that person was thinking. So it's as if they said it. like in your memory, it's as if they've actually literally spoke to you to say it. And you recall what was said, and it's like you're having a conversation with a person that secretly hates you, and you're getting the feeling that something's weird, and then it's like if you're clairaudient, you would have that person's voice or actually see that person look at you and say, yeah, just so you know, if I had my way, I'd get rid of you. And back to the conversation as if that had never happened. And if the person's not doing it on purpose to gaslight you, then either they are subliminally doing this, which means that on some level that they are not themselves aware of, they literally speak to you. Which, again, I'm not getting into subconscious, so who knows. And the other thing is that it could just be that you just hear it as if it was emanated from them. But that, I don't know. That one is... The ones I've experienced, it's like the person actually said it. These are both derived of another similar ability as it's normally cataloged, which is clairsentience, and that is the one I have the most experience with. Clairsentience is in the same sense that clairvoyance is you see things that are not in your immediate vicinity, you see things that are not right where you're at, so it's like the ability to see beyond or see more butts through your visions. Or to clairaudience being, to hear things that are not actually audible, but are there. Clairsentience is to know things in the same, as if through the ether or whatever, to just be able to just know things. This is the one that I think I've had the most experience with. I have no claim to understand the origin of that. I just understand that clairaudience and clairsentience are based in, clairaudience and clairvoyance are based in clairsentience. And the clairsentience is itself a whole other thing. The more you come to understand about the interconnectedness of all things, the more you explore it and accept it and realize it, actualize the interconnectedness, the more clairsentient you can become, because all things are connected. Therefore, your consciousness is a piece of the singular infinity of all things. So through my thoughts on clairsentience and thinking about the idea previously stated about how many different ways there are to conceptualize the experience of being and the interconnectedness in all things and the interconnectedness of all things. See how that works. I came to the understanding of another way of conceptualizing it. So here it is. Never really thought about it this way before. And if I have, I've long since forgotten it. By the way, what I've just done is taken this last chunk and added it back in. So now all we have is the boxes in the warehouse. Those boxes contain matter. Oh, there's a third box in the warehouse. As a filtering process for purifying my frame of mind. Subconscious is stored in its own box. So now we have these 3 boxes in a warehouse. This is its own single chunk. The boxes in the warehouse. And they're back that way. Imagine, if you will, the center point of your consciousness. Where does it reside? This is a philosophical conundrum that has been used like a well-worn exercise device of some sort by philosophers, theologians, spiritualists, and questioners of all types, a commonality unto itself. Where does the center of your consciousness reside? Is it in your brain? Is it in your body? Is it your visual cortex? Is it, because your visual qualia, what I'm doing here is I'm putting my hands at the edge of my visual field just beyond. And everything that you can see, the concept of that which exists, and your thoughts all exist in one part of your brain, in a sense. Not a specific area of the brain, but a part of your mind that is yourself, is your ego, as it were. It is your self-reference point. So this is one of the common points of all consciousness, is having a self-reference, self-awareness point. A point from which the environment registers, you can use it to ping back information as far as what your relation to something, your effect on something is. That is self-awareness. You can catalog everything within visual and stored memory of other visual as far as what the objects are in the room or whatever. But the actual vision of the room, the experience of being in it, is all a hallucination in your mind based on sensory stimuli. And it is a filtered experience. You just have to accept and understand that it is a filtered experience. We'll take that and we'll put that here. So we have the stuff in the thing that we're kind of keeping back, and we're having this to keep in mind. Imagine, if you will, that center of consciousness is a common point for all individuals. Everything that is part of the collective of consciousness, everything that is connected to the collective unconscious, because you must be conscious in order to be able to be unconscious of something. That connectedness with a common spatial point, as if you had every single consciousness in one place at one time, individually interacting their information and their conceptualization of their environment and all those environments. But the environments are just part of a hallucination of the mind. So what you're really thinking about is all of the individual minds. And if you set them all in the same spot and let them do their thing at the same time, you would have a superposition, an infinity of consciousness throughout lifetimes or as experienced. What if reality is like that anyway? What if the real connectedness is that all of the interacting individual users of experience are all in the same place, experiencing all times at once? One being made of all of this, experiencing everything all at the same time. As that is already, in many cases, an accepted understanding of what God is and how we are made in the image of, therefore also have a connectedness and commonality with. But today I got the chance to think about that in a slightly different view. Or I may have had that view in the past, but it was in an extremely heavy trip. And I may have been writing it down, I may have been typing about it or whatever, if this is bubbled up as a recollection rather than a new idea. But if that's the case, the connectedness means that literally all information possessed by all individuals would be literally within your grasp, as they're all superpositioned relative to the same common point. That consciousness and thought, which transcends the qualia, the physical experience, and the environment, is just like think like the cloud, but in the literal sense of a cloud of all knowledge, wisdom, understanding, data, and conceptualization stored as with a mind, as with the brain, as I've previously discussed, processor and memory, and the nature of brain cells as memory storage. We're going to take that. Ooh, Sammy Vlog. Guess what I'm doing next? We're going to take that in between here and here, and we're going to take that and condense it. And condense it and condense it until it is simply a concept that takes up a single bit of conscious awareness, and its name is bigger than itself, and it is the interconnectedness of all things. So, you keep that in mind. You keep that right over here. You keep it as a general filter as well. A filter must be cleaned, however, from time to time, and in the case of that, it's simply to decompress it, re-examine it, reaffirm it, see if you got anything wrong about it, and then once you have it again, but it's always there. So my size limit is almost reached. I'm done with this. This has been today's slightly more esoteric and fringe meditation, but this is one of the things that I maintain some aspect of conscious awareness of at all times, even if it does wander into the realm of subconscious, but I do not forget that what I'm interacting with is the interconnectedness of all things, therefore juggling multiple infinities as I am superpositioned with all other life forms experiencing their experience in some sense. Even if spatially in the universe what we conceptualize is that we are individuals spaced out even across a planet, even across a universe, but that we are all connected and therefore all might as well be